Relations. Session 3 will focus on the theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and international relations. This session will focus on how we can reconcile Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam with pragmatic imperatives required in the face of instances such as rising conflicts based on identity or illegal migration across borders. What strategic dilemmas would we face if you were to apply this principle to international politics? This session will aim to address some of these issues. May I request Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee, Distinguished Fellow VIF, Dr. Dipshika Shahi from the University of Delhi, and Professor Sujit Datta, who's a Senior Fellow with the VIF, to please come and take their seats on the dais. I now hand over the proceedings to Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee.
She's around.
Hello, yeah, there. Well, thank you and good morning. Let us. We are running a little late, but I'm assured that we can make up the time because any questions or observations that are made on the speakers' presentations are going to be taken up in the panel discussion, which concludes this morning's session. So please keep your questions or your observations for that panel discussion. It is my pleasure to welcome Professor Dipshika Sahi to this session. She is an assistant professor of political science at the University of Delhi and has published 2 books, Advaita as a Global International Relations Theory and Kautilya and Non-Western IR Theory. And today we look forward to your speaking and making a presentation on the primary challenge facing IR on how to make it more inclusive by including by expanding its theoretical foundations beyond Western scientific biases. So, Professor, you have the floor.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
A very good morning to all of you. The paper I'm presenting here today is titled Advaita and the Possibility of a Post-Western International Relations Theory. Now, the main challenge facing the academic discipline of international relations, or IR, today is how to make it more global or more inclusive. In order to make IR more global and inclusive, it is important that we move its theoretical foundations beyond Western scientific biases. Now, Western scientific biases originate from dualism. What is dualism? Dualism is a knowledge situation wherein the subject and object remain mutually separated. Every knowledge situation has a subject and an object. Subject is the one who is trying to understand reality, someone who is trying to theorize reality. So the subject is the theorizing self. Whereas the object is something which is being theorized. It can be an idea, a material, or a person. So the object is the theorized other. Now, dualism, which underpins Western scientific biases, says that the subject is always separated from the object. So the theorizing self is always separate from the theorized other. By contrast, the Indian philosophy of Advaita, that is monism or non-duality, opens up the possibility of a merger between the subject and the object, a merger between the self and the others. As such, Advaita offers an innovative intellectual resource for forming a post-Western IR theory. In my paper, I'll try to discuss the central propositions of Advaitic post-Western IR theory. And I'll also try and explain how this theory informs the vision of a one-world family, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, in global politics. I have divided this paper into 3 parts. I now open up the first part, that is Western IR as the spectre of dualism. The theories of Western IR depend upon mind-based rationalities for explaining the reality of international relations. Broadly speaking, there are two types of theories: rationalist theories like liberalism, Marxism, realism. Now, rationalist theories presuppose that reality as an object is located outside the human mind. So, reality as an object is outside the knowledge practices of human beings who are the subjects who are trying to theorize the reality. By contrast, we have reflectivist theories like critical theories, postmodernism, and so on. They think that the reality as an object is located inside the human mind. So it is internal to the knowledge practices of human beings. However, both the rationalist and reflectivist theories of Western IR locate reality somewhere in or between the mutually separated subject and object, thereby uniformly endorsing dualism. Willow Harley says dualism appears in other cultures too. So if you look at the ancient Indian philosophy, we have Samkhya. Samkhya is inherently a dualist philosophy. But Harley says that in the European cultural heritage and in the European mind, it seems to have a surprisingly central role. So dualism has a surprisingly central role in the European mind. Polarities and dualities appear indispensable. However imprecise, unscientific, evasive, and distorting they are, it seems natural to confront the us with them, friends with enemies, and good with bad. So if the self consists of us, then the other consists of them. If the self consists of friends, then the other consists of enemies. Likewise, if the self consists of the West, then the other consists of the rest. As the dualist self other separation in Western IR removes the imagination of a West West merger in the process of grasping global politics, it is the monism of Advaitic philosophy that creates room for alternatively realizing that possibility. I now move on to part 2 of my paper, wherein I discuss Advaitic post Western IR and the promise of monism. The Advaitic philosophy undoubtedly upholds the possibility of self other merger, subject object merger, at a particular level of consciousness. In fact, the Advaitic philosophy envisages the expanse of consciousness on two levels. First level is the monist pure consciousness or Brahma, it's non dual. The other level of consciousness is dualist relative consciousness or the realm of appearance, Jagat, as we know it. Markedly, the instance of subject-object merger can occur only at the level of monist pure consciousness. It cannot happen at the level of dualist relative consciousness. However, Advaita does not deny dualist relative consciousness.